Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Let's just cut right to the chase. If you work in IT support or DevOps, AI is supposed to be this magical tool saving you hours of work every day. But let's be totally honest here. Most people are actually using AI completely wrong when it comes to support. They treat it like a traditional search engine, and they just end up frustrated. Well, today I'm going to share a massive productivity hack with you. We're going to dive into what actually works when you're using Claude. And yes, even just the free tier works for this, so you can tackle your daily ticket backlog like a true senior engineer. Look, we've literally all been there, right? You've got this massive, seemingly endless, raw error log. You copy the whole thing, paste it into the chat box, type the words fix this, and hit enter. And what actually comes back? Well, usually, it's hallucinated fixes, super generic advice, or just this AI slop that totally misses the root cause of your specific issue. It is incredibly frustrating when the tool that's supposed to save you time ends up wasting it. And if you're pulling your hair out over this, you are definitely not alone. Get this. Research from ALM Corp actually shows that 78% of AI project failures stem directly from poor human-to-AI communication. So, validate your frustration right now. The problem is absolutely not that Claude is broken or that you need some expensive enterprise plan. The problem, almost every single time, is the prompt itself. So to fix this, we need a total mindset shift. I like to call this the senior engineer premise. We really need to stop just chatting casually with AI. Instead, you've got to start framing your prompts as strict contracts written for a brilliant, highly capable, but incredibly literal-minded junior employee. When you start setting explicit boundaries, Claude stops guessing and actually starts executing. Okay, so here's our game plan for today. We are going to start with some prompt engineering fundamentals. And then I'm going to equip you with 3 very practical templates, one for summarizing error logs, one for generating safe SQL queries, and one for drafting executive escalation messages. All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, Prompt Fundamentals, specifically what we call the contract style. Okay, this right here, absolutely crucial. The single most effective technique for Claude is what Anthropic calls the XML tagging paradigm. By simply wrapping your instructions in basic XML tags like role, task, and context, you create a rigid, clear boundary. It totally separates your explicit instructions from that messy system log data you're pasting in. That way, Claude never gets confused about what's an instruction and what's just background noise. You really want to think of your prompt as a binding contract. You state your goal right up front, you define the role explicitly, and you list your constraints in tight bullet points, not rambling paragraphs. You know, a really common misconception is that typing more words automatically gets you a better answer, but verbosity only helps when it adds actual specificity. Your prompt has to be bounded, structured, and, this is key, it needs an uncertainty rule. Something like, if you're unsure, say so. That alone prevents so many of those wild hallucinations we talked about earlier. Let's move into our first real-world scenario. Template 1. Summarizing logs. Picture this. You've got a massive 200-line Grafana error log and a ticket that literally just says, "System crashed." A weak prompt just says, "Hey, summarize these logs and tell me what went wrong." And that's probably just going to spit back a chronological list of useless events. But look at the strong prompt. It assigns a role, provides context, and dictates an exact output format. You aren't just asking for a summary. You are demanding surgical, diagnostic insights. You're explicitly telling Claude to distill those 200 lines down into exactly 5 bullet points focused strictly on root causes, not symptoms. Now, for those really gnarly, complex incidents, professional engineers use a couple of awesome protocols to manage Claude's context window. First is the 2-action rule. This just means having Claude pause and summarize its findings every couple of steps so it doesn't lose the plot and suffer from context drift. Then there's the 3-strike protocol. This explicitly tells Claude, look, if you try 3 different diagnostic approaches and they all fail, stop guessing right there and escalate it back to a human. Let's keep the momentum going with our second template, generating SQL queries. Now, this is a super critical area because AI hallucinations here don't just waste a few minutes. They can cause massive, irreversible database nightmares. Listen, if there is one golden rule for generating SQL with AI, it is this. Never, ever ask Claude to write a query without pasting your database schema first. It is literally impossible for the AI to do this right without explicit table and column definitions, the specific business intent, and the exact output columns you're looking for. And I literally cannot emphasize this next point enough. You do not want to be the person who runs a blind AI query. A faulty statement like, say, an update or delete missing a where clause will irreversibly destroy your data. Always validate AI-generated queries in a test environment or wrap them in a transaction block first. Remember, Claude is your assistant, not an unsupervised database admin with the keys to the kingdom. Check out the difference here. The weak prompt just asks for failed transactions. It leaves Claude totally guessing about what failed even means in your system, and it doesn't even specify the SQL dialect. Now the strong prompt. It explicitly names MySQL, defines the exact intent as failed transactions in the last 24 hours, and demands exactly 3 specific columns. Boom. This completely removes ambiguity and honestly eliminates like 90% of those annoying correction cycles where you're arguing back and forth with the AI. All right, bringing us to our third and final scenario, drafting escalation messages. So let's say things are hitting the fan. You've got a raw sentry error, a log snippet, and a frantic customer report, and you need to update leadership right now. A basic prompt is just going to generate cliché-written AI slop. You know, that automated, we value your business robot speak. But the expert prompt? It commands the AI to act as a senior incident commander. It tells Claude to synthesize that raw sentry error into precise metrics, all while keeping a direct, warm, and collaborative tone. The transformation here is just night and day. I mean, nobody wants to read, "I hope this email finds you well," in the middle of a server outage. Instead, the expert prompt gets you an opening that cuts right to the chase with the escalation, throws in exact metrics like a 500 millisecond latency spike, and provides a clear 10-minute ETA for failover. It projects total competence and authority. Oh, and a super quick tip on nailing that perfect tone. Use positive framing. If you tell Claude, hey, don't sound like a robot, it actually activates what we call the pink elephant problem. Just by mentioning a robot, you accidentally shift the AI's semantic focus right toward robotic concepts. So always tell Claude exactly what you do want, like use a warm human tone, rather than what you don't want. All right, let's wrap this up and put it all into practice so you can actually transform your IT support workflow today. Here is your new AI Power User Toolkit. Master those XML tags to build a wall between your instructions and your messy context. Use the 2-action rule to keep Claude laser-focused during those massive log analyses. Never, ever generate SQL without pasting your schema first. And always use positive framing for your tone. Honestly, the entire difference between an AI failing spectacularly or succeeding brilliantly just comes down to how well you assemble the context in your prompt. So I'll leave you with this thought. Which of these 3 templates are you going to use on your very next ticket? Are you going to distill a gnarly 200-line Grafana log? Write a flawless MySQL query for the last 24 hours? Or draft a perfect sentry error escalation? It is time to stop using AI like a basic chatbot and start commanding it like the senior engineer you are. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy prompting.